Some of the greatest players in football history have never won the Champions League. Not because they weren't good enough, but because they were in the wrong team. Maybe they were one moment away from glory and it all fell apart. And so today we're building the best 11 of players who never won the Champions League. And we're starting with Kylian Mbappe. To think the golden boy of football, a World Cup winner at 19, could have almost won a second World Cup as well. Yet he's never won the Champions League. In fact, a lot of people are saying that he's cursed because for PSG he could never win it. In fact, he even lost the final where he had a really bad miss. But then he left Paris and instantly PSG became Champions League winners. And even at Real Madrid, everybody thought he'd easily be winning the Champions League, but no. 2 seasons and both times Mbappe has been knocked out. And now he's 27, basically pushing 30. There's a good chance at this rate Mbappe might never win the Champions League. And that's why he's going to be the first player we put into the squad. Now, just a quick disclaimer. Any under 23 player that's not won the Champions League, we're not going to be allowed to pick them. They're too young. They've probably got a big chance of winning it later on, so it doesn't make sense to put them into the squad. But now moving on to the goalkeeper position, we've got options like David De Gea. He was at Man United for almost a decade, and probably that was the reason he never got close to winning the Champions League. But individually, De Gea was absolutely brilliant, carried Man United for so many years. Then there's also Jan Oblak as an option. But saying that, Oblak finally might have the chance to win the Champions League this year. That's why we're not going to put Oblak into the team. But I think you all know which goalkeeper is going in here. Gianluigi Buffon. It is still crazy to me that Buffon never won the Champions League. I think his loyalty to Juventus kind of cost him because he's lost 3 Champions League finals with Juve. To be honest, I don't think Buffon regrets all that much because he's a World Cup winner at the end of the day. But saying that, no Champions League means that we're going to be putting him into the squad. 94 rated Buffon. And I told you boys, this team is going to be full of world-class players. Mbappe and Buffon already. And now for the centre-back spots, the team just gets even crazier. And funnily enough, we've got a couple of Buffon's teammates that we can just put into the team. Chiellini and Bonucci. I mean, to think a defensive trio of Chiellini, Bonucci, and Buffon could never win the Champions League is just crazy. Especially for me, Chiellini was a special defender, man. Old school, no nonsense. He deserved to play in a team that could win the Champions League. But guess what? There are still a couple of better defenders, I feel, that must get into this team. Especially when there's a certain Ballon d'Or winner. That's right, Fabio Cannavaro. I was actually surprised when I learned that he's played for Inter, Juventus, and Real Madrid. But yet Cannavaro was never part of a Champions League winning team. And to think he's got a Ballon d'Or. In a way that probably happened because of Zidane's headbutt. But regardless, Cannavaro does look like the best centre-back to have never won the Champions League. And let's put him into the team as our first centre-back option. Now for the second centre-back, I really like the option of Diego Godin, a legend of Atletico. Probably the centre-back that's summed up Diego Simeone's Atletico side the most, but because he's not an FC26, we can't pick him. There's Mats Hummels as well. He's a good option. Also, if we go way back in time, Bobby Moore, who won the World Cup with England, but never meaningfully competed in the European Cup or the Champions League. But the one centre-back that I think would be a lot of fun to put into this team, Vincent Kompany. He was the leader of Man City after their Abu Dhabi takeover, helped Man City win multiple Premier League titles, but in the Champions League, even under Pep Guardiola, they always flustered. Eventually, they did win it with Erling Haaland, but by then, Kompany had retired and become a manager. And to be honest, as a manager, he's right now coaching Bayern Munich. So technically, there is still a chance for Kompany to win the Champions League, but because as a manager, it's a bit different, we're not going to count it. And that's why we are going to put Kompany into the squad. But honestly, what a defense. Cannavaro and Kompany. And now to pick our right back. This was kind of tricky because it seems like most of the great right backs have at some point won the Champions League, like Cafu, Carlos Puyol, even the likes of Zanetti. Even if you look at current players like, say, Joshua Kimmich, Trent as well won it with Liverpool. But there is a certain World Cup winner and a player who's often regarded as one of the best in this right back position, Lilian Thuram. And I was just taking a look at the clubs Thuram played for: Monaco, Parma, but then Juventus, where he did reach the Champions League final but ended up losing. Even at Barcelona, he couldn't get the job done. It's crazy because internationally, Thuram has won both the Euros and the World Cup, but no Champions League is kind of hurting his CV. And that is also going to get him a spot into our team. And by the way, I'm getting really worried at how good this team is turning out to be, because once we've built this 0 Champions League team, we're going to have to play 1 game of FC26, where it is going to be a race to 3 goals. And if we end up losing, 1 player from our team is going to get the discard. And alright, let's continue building our squad with the left back. And This was kind of a struggle because all the left backs I can think of, Jordi Alba, Alphonso Davies, Marcelo, Roberto Carlos, they've all been serial Champions League winners. Even some of the Premier League legends like Ashley Cole, Patrice Evra, they've both won Champions Leagues. Who do we actually pick here then? I guess one option we've got is Theo Hernandez, an incredible left back, so good for AC Milan. And well, I completely forgot he's now moved to Al Hilal and he'll basically never have the chance to win the Champions League again. I guess Theo Hernandez would be a great pick, but I feel like there is a better option in Federico Di Marco, one of the finest attacking wing backs of the last generation. He's helped take into the 2 Champions League finals, but you guessed it, he's been on the losing end in both. In fact, in one of them against PSG, a 5-0 defeat. That kind of embarrassment, bro. I mean, it should get an instant spot for Di Marco in our team. And also, he's going to be the highest rated player we put because he's got a 96 rated TOTS card. Let's buy him up for 500k. And that is one player I don't want to be discarding. And with that, our defense is complete. I still can't believe a defense with so much talent has never touched the Champions League trophy. Also, kind of funny that we've got 3 Italian players in here. These guys might be serial bottlers, man. Now, before we pick our midfielders, I am making a slight change to our formation. Mbappe is being put on the left. That's because there are a couple of strikers I want to pick that are so iconic and have not won the Champions League. For now, we're going to be focusing on the midfield, where one option I really like, Patrick Vieira, was so important for Arsenal winning the invincible Premier League trophy. But being Arsenal, they bottled the Champions League. Maybe if Vieira, like Andre, left to join Barcelona or Real Madrid, he would have a Champions League, but he didn't. There's also Lothar Matthäus, didn't win the Champions League with Bayern Munich, another fantastic player. But you know what? I'm going to be controversial and omit both Vieira and Lothar Matthäus. And I feel like some of you guys are going to laugh, but I'm going with Bruno Fernandes. I feel like Bruno Fernandes has kind of wasted his entire career playing for Man United. I mean, saying wasted is a bit harsh because Man United are still a very big club, historically at least. But the level Bruno is playing at, with the assists, the goals, the contribution, and that's what he's been doing for years now. But because he's playing for a Man United team that have just no chance of competing to win the Champions League, Bruno has never been in the conversation. And well, he's got a 93 rated card with 95 passing. Let's quickly buy him up. If I was recording this video like a day later, we could have probably been able to use Bruno's 97 TOTS card, but he's not yet in the game. But there you go. We've put him into the squad. And now time to pick our other centre mid. This is where I was thinking maybe Diego Maradona. But then again, if you look at all the other players we picked, they're all from like the Champions League era, whereas Maradona was from the European Cup era. That's why I don't want to include him in this video. Instead, I want to go with one of my favorite midfielders of all time. 2018 World Cup winner with France. Reached the Champions League final as well with Juventus. Of course, couldn't get over the line. Lost to Barcelona. Then, of course, had doping allegations and whatnot. But still, if you watched prime Paul Pogba play, you know how good he was. I mean, Pogba had everything. The skills. He could control the midfield. He had the passing range. He's still a World Cup winner, which is respectable. But I think I do want to include him in our team. And I've got a crazy Evo of Pogba. 93 rated, 3 playstyle pluses. Time to use him by putting him into the squad. And with that, we've completed our midfield. And I told you, there's a reason why we're only going with 2 midfielders. Because some of the attackers we're picking are nuts. Before we pick them, though, if you guys could subscribe to the channel, that'll be amazing. And now to pick our right midfielder. Talking about some of the current players we've got, like Bukayo Saka. He might still have a chance to win the Champions League this season, so we'll omit him. Some interesting options here will be like Alexis Sanchez, multiple times Copa America winner. Won La Liga with Barca, never the Champions League, and then he went to Arsenal. And of course, once you do that, you're not winning the Champions League, mate. But I think I've made my decision. The player we're gonna pick for this spot, Antoine Griezmann. I know with Atletico, he's still got a chance to win the Champions League this season, but most likely, I feel like they're just gonna bottle it. And if you look at Griezmann's career, he's done everything but win the Champions League. Okay, he's not won La Liga. But for now, he's going to have to be happy with his spot here. One of the best footballers to have never won the Champions League. And now we move to the striker positions. And of course, I told you there are some impressive players here that we can talk about, like Francesco Totti. His loyalty to Roma is the only reason he hasn't won the Champions League. There's also Sergio Aguero, a Premier League legend, but like Vincent Kompany, was never able to win the Champions League with City. Players like Edinson Cavani or Gabriel Batistuta, they could get in. But when you've got a certain Zlatan Ibrahimovic Ibrahimovic, one of the most decorated footballers of all time, a serial league winner. But yet every club he's gone to, he's not been able to win the Champions League. That's the one thing in his career he couldn't achieve. 4 million coins, and we are buying Zlatan. To think one of the best strikers of his generation couldn't win the Champions League is kind of crazy, and you could make a big argument that he's the best player to have never won the Champions League. Until I tell you who's going to be his strike partner up top. R9 Ronaldo. That's right, boys. People still lose their minds when they find out that R9 never won the Champions League. Yes, he played for Barca and even Real Madrid, both the Milan clubs, but the Champions League was never his. Injuries kind of ruined his career. He still had his World Cup peak. Everybody knows about his haircut, and that's why he's going to be completing the squad. And this is the best 11 of players that never won the Champions League. Honestly, right now I can only think about how painful it is going to be if I have to discard any of these players. Especially this R9. I sacrificed so much to freaking unlock this card. We ain't letting it go. By the way, I think we should put in a manager that's never won the Champions League. And I think the perfect man for this, probably Diego Simeone. Alright, boys, here we go. And it's kind of funny how we're wearing Arsenal kits, because you guys know Arsenal have got 0 Champions Leagues. But okay, this is right now a first to 3 goals. And honestly, I feel like with R9 Ronaldo, we should be getting that easily. Here he goes. Bang from R9. That might be one of the fastest goals I've scored, man. Just 1 minute and 50 seconds. Come on, we just need a couple. I don't want to be discarding anyone. And here we go, boys. Prime Paul Pogba. Linking up. Bruno. Back for R9. Let's try something cheeky from R9. Oh, come on. Okay, I don't like this. This guy's on the charge and company couldn't win that challenge. Cannavaro left alone. Oh, he made a big mistake. This guy's a bit of a fraud. Come on. Oh, Griezmann. Griezmann's so good. There's the second goal. Okay, now I just need another one. Maybe Zlatan will help me get it. No, it gets blocked. Bro, so far, this guy hasn't even come close to scoring. And here's Zlatan trying some cheeky skills here. Maybe a long shot with Zlatan could be insane. Oh, what a strike, but goes just wide. Bro, Griezmann is insane. What is that dribbling, bro? Oh, this time he couldn't score. Okay, this is not looking nice. This is not looking nice. He might end up scoring, and yes, he does. Now, I'm panicking a little bit, because if he scores a couple of goals, we lose. But R9, you're not going to let me lose. You're not going to let me lose. R9 Ronaldo. And that's a relief, boys. We won't have to discard anyone. And if you enjoyed this video, watch me try and build a team of the best players to have never won the World Cup. Click here.